Newsshooter coverage of IBC 2025 is sponsored by B&H.
Hi, it's Matt here for Newsshooter.com at the iFilm Museum in Amsterdam with James Tonkin, who shot one of the, release films for the Eterna 55. Now, I just wanted to ask you mainly about usability because, we've got to a point where all cameras are getting really good. They can produce good images. How was the usability of this camera?
Well, I should caveat the camera we had was in a high kind of prototype state. But saying that, I mean, that had its own charm because it had limited functionality, which meant we picked one sensor size, open gate, one frame rate, 48 frames, and we built everything around that basically in terms of how we were going to film our film. The one aspect which we also leveraged was the internal NDs, and that was, we had some fairly dramatic sort of scenes outside with harsh backlit sunshine, and I mean that was invaluable to have them. But the cameras, the ergonomics are incredible. I mean, it's such a small camera body. I mean, for it to have the number of screens it has on and the number of user buttons and dials, it's really has been designed in a really smart way for an operator.
And what I found interesting too is that both the monitor and the side screens are extremely bright. A lot of cameras these days tend to have almost unusable LCD screens that flip out on the side. This one seems like it was pretty good.
Well, exactly that. I mean, you want to be able to be outside on a beach filming at sunlight, sunset or something like that, and see what you're seeing on the side of these screens. It's no point having screens that you can't see in all conditions. And I think they've really built a camera which can work in all environments.
In terms of the camera itself, I guess it's being the height of the sensor. It's more of a sort of a different canvas that you can use in terms of filmmaking.
That's exactly the way that I look at it. I've never shot or framed for a full 4x3 kind of open gate before, and I found it really interesting, especially because our film uses sort of period pieces, and it works so much better to have the cinematography in that ratio for the sort of portrait sort of setups. But it does. I mean, it's a camera that's clearly been developed with IMAX in mind, because that as soon as you start shooting in that aspect ratio, it's really addictive. You see it, you start to frame things in a different way.
I think what's quite interesting too is that mixing and matching these different resolutions and frame sizes is something we don't sort of traditionally see anymore. But just by watching your short film, it was sort of pretty seamless. You didn't sort of anything jumped out, and you sort of, I guess, the audience is not noticing that.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's a great compliment to the film. I mean, I think we originally had intended to finish everything with a similar aspect, but like I say, once we started shooting with this open gate and seeing the full height of the sensor, we didn't really want to go back. We framed differently. We felt the scenes in a different way when you frame in that ratio, and I think leveraging kind of color and really like pushing the different looks of the film, all for the purpose of helping the story kind of be motivated and the audience know that they're jumping from different time periods. To me, that really works in the best way. And I mean, the proof is in if an audience accepts it and doesn't get taken out of the film because of the change of aspect ratios.
I was going to say that. Do you think this is something that streaming services may be open to in the future, adopting different aspect ratios like this?
I hope so, because I've always supported. If a film's a letterboxed, I've never cared. I've never minded. Did the letterbox even on a plane? For me, the death of a film is a pan and scan, where you're actually losing information that the director or the editor intended you to see. So for me, I prefer any format to exist in its full kind of ratio, basically. So I really hope that especially as people's screen sizes get bigger and bigger, I think people will be a bit more forgiving about black at the sides or at the top. I mean, it's at the end of the day, I think the aspect ratio has been chosen by the filmmakers for a reason.